Hi, today I have a message called Peace and Harmony Unopposed. There is a barrier you hold between you and another, and you use your concentration to hold it steady. By the way, this is one of the talky ones, so this is the short version. The barrier is your positive and negative thoughts about the other. The barrier has a zipper down the middle, and it's opening very slowly. As it opens, you attempt to populate that open gap with more positive and negative thoughts because you're used to that. As you let the zipper open without filling in the space, you can see that there is nothing but peace and harmony unopposed here. So back to there is a barrier you hold between you and another, and you use your concentration to hold it steady. So this is all our opinions about the other, any feeling we have that seems to be associated with the other that has anything but peace and joy in it. There's the barrier. And I hold it in place because I'm accustomed to associating my safety and my sense of being directed with the barriers I hold between perceived things. You're not a thing, I'm not a thing, not in that way. We're not the forms, but that pretty much sums it up. And I use my concentration to hold it steady. So it's like a steady chaos. That's funny because the barrier itself is the source of the perception of chaos. I'm probably messing that up a little in how I'm expressing it, but it's in the neighborhood. And I hold that steady, right? The source of perceived chaos. I concentrate to hold it steady. Isn't that hilarious? Okay. But today, it gets dismantled, and every day, until we're done perceiving. So the way perception works is we notice we're perceiving chaos, and then we want to respond appropriately. Then we learn how to focus appropriately, which we're all doing together right now. We're all learning and unlearning together, remembering, becoming aware. We're all each other's students. We're all each other's teachers. We're all each other's therapists. We're all each other's patients. We're all equal. And we're all taking this on, right? So now we're learning how to focus appropriately, all of us. And with our joined, shared, appropriate focus, then we bring online the substitute perception. So first we perceived chaos in accordance with our wishes, and that's part of our learning and unlearning that we acknowledge. I wanted to perceive chaos, so I did. All of these opposites seemingly at war with one another, so I did. And there's only one of us, so any I can step forward and say that and take responsibility, not blame, not fault. Just I thought this illusion into being, and I'm experiencing this illusion. And now what I allow to come online is a substitute perception provided by basically all of us together and our creator. Our creator, through, if you're going to use Christian language, Holy Spirit, provides for us a substitute perception. Is perception needed? Was it ever? Never. It wasn't. But since we have it, the kindest, easiest way out of perception is the substitute perception, which reflects to us very, very directly the goodness without opposite, the love, the joy, the peace of what we are. It reflects very directly to us what we are. So we're allowing the substitute illusion perception online. And every tiny bit of our day is dedicated now to, or can be dedicated as we increase our ability to remain vigilant and focus appropriately. More and more we do this, and then that comes online, and then after that we might as well not even bother talking about after that, because there is no after, there is no time. The important thing to focus on is what we're bringing online together is the substitute illusion. It's still an illusion, but it's provided for us by what we are together. That's the best I could do with words, acknowledging that it'll never be enough with words, but they're pointing. They're pointing. Okay. The barrier is your positive and negative thoughts about the other. That would set you aside from someone or something, and then I would misperceive you. So anything that would lead me to misperceive you and sort of break our connection, we're always connected. We're always joined because there's only one of us. And I can use thought to attempt to break our connection and then analyze and interpret. And it seems we've had ourselves convinced for a very long time that the pleasure we can get by breaking the connection, we can't break our connection, but we can imagine that we did. The pleasure we can get from imagining breaking our connection would be enough, would be fulfilling. But what you are, or what you spring from, or what extends from you, that's what's fulfilling. Not anything we can imagine, having first imagined that we broke our connection. So that's coming online for all of us too. We don't leave anybody behind because there is only one of us. No one gets left behind. So the barrier is your positive and negative thoughts about the other. I like Byron Katie's approach to this. I found it very helpful. You don't have to worry about your positive thoughts unless they're so positive they're causing you anxiety, like that one's better than me, or whatever. It's the negative feelings that we need to respond to. Yes, the ego can give us false positive feelings that are just as much a sign of addiction to ego thought as the negative feelings are. But as we increase our sensitivity to small disturbances in our emotional state and respond appropriately to the negative emotions, then we also become aware of ego's false positive emotions and how those are actually associated with underlying anxiety, fear, guilt, with the perception of having broken our connection. So any so-called positive feelings that are associated with the perception of having broken our connection and seeing us as separate, those get taken care of too. But the approach of focusing on the negative first is very helpful because that certainly gets your attention. And then the false positive can be taken care of as you begin to value responding appropriately to negative emotional states frequently and immediately. Not because anything bad's going to happen, but because you realize your happiness depends on it. When you truly and deeply realize that your happiness depends on seeing everything as it is, remembering, becoming aware of who and what everyone and everything is, your happiness depends on that, then you have all the motivation you need, and your perceived happiness, the happiness you perceive returning to, or the joy, the peace, returning to everyone and even everything you call else, then you have all the motivation you need to learn how to respond appropriately to everything you encounter. The barrier has a zipper down the middle, and it's opening very slowly. So as we do our work, it's like, oh my gosh, the veil is thinning, the barrier is disappearing, the sense of our oneness is dawning on me, and it's with me more, and I remember it more frequently, and I seem to be better able to share it. Here's the zipper. It's opening slowly. There's nothing between you and me. Okay, so that's what seems to be happening. And all our work opens us up, and our happiness is in, obviously this is just a metaphor, but in the openness, in the lack of the barrier, in the peace, in the defenselessness, in the goodness, remembrance and experience of the goodness without opposite that everyone and everything is and always has been, regardless of any fear surface we have projected upon it. Okay. Or anyone. Okay, so it's opening very slowly. As it opens, you attempt to populate that open gap with more positive and negative thoughts because you're used to that. So, habits, right? So we can notice we have more of a sense that this gap is opening. It's interesting because I like A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles talks about the gap between essentially you and me, or you and anything, disappearing. We populate the gap with fear thoughts, then we see all these fear surfaces around us. That's the opposite way of using the concept of gap. So I'm acknowledging that because I do share readings from A Course in Miracles here. But let's see where this use of gap goes. So the barrier, there's a gap in the barrier. And I can see this happening as I seem to reach a deeper understanding and acceptance, and accept the importance of my responsibility in responding appropriately to anything that doesn't feel good. I do notice that the thoughts will come rushing in where openness seemed to be. The thoughts will come rushing in on a wave in an attempt to repopulate that spot. But the good news is that eventually, with our dedication and focus, which gets easier and easier the more we do it, and the more we see others around us opening to the same thing, it doesn't work. It doesn't stick. The barrier can't be rebuilt. So I know this is using space language, but it seems like there are parts of it that it can't fully be rebuilt. Once you've gone down that path of allowing, once we are on this path of allowing ourselves to see through the falseness of ego thoughts, and it simply can't rebuild itself. There's a limit to how much it's going to fill in that space with positive and negative thoughts about someone or something else before you understand that they're all untrue. And it's really in everyone's best interest to see through the lies, let them go, be here now with everyone and everything, receive guidance, allow that guidance to be the determiner of what you say, what you do, your perception of that, your perception of what everyone says, what everyone does, your perception of that. And so it kind of lays bare the guidance that's available here for all of us as we allow this gap to grow. Okay, not the fear gap, the letting the defenses fall down. Okay, where am I? As you let the zipper open without filling in the space, I think we do get more sensitive as we let this, obviously it's not literal, let's crumple it up like a tissue and throw it away right after I'm done with this message, because usually the metaphors don't come back that much. But as the zipper opens, and when we learn not to fill in that space, you can see there is nothing but peace and harmony unopposed here. And that becomes our foundation. So the more we're able to see that peace and harmony are unopposed here, and peace and harmony are what I am and what you are together, not split apart. And peace and harmony are what I am and what you are and what everything is, what everyone we call else is, eternally. The more and more we're able to look through any remaining fear surfaces we're projecting and see how meaningless and valueless they are, and see right through them to what's shining behind them. Eternally, nothing's more important than what's eternal. Peace and harmony unopposed. It's the good news. So the good news gets more and more prominent, even though it seems in the world things are happening. People are saying things about people, and if we judge and analyze what seems to be happening or what the people seem to be saying about the people, the ego will gladly tell you what a mess it is, or it's going to be, or how much more of a mess it is today than it was yesterday. But thank goodness all of those thoughts are lies, and the peace and harmony unopposed that everyone and everything united is behind the surface of any separate fear surfaces we're projecting upon it. That's the real stuff, thank goodness. So as you let the zipper open, without filling in the space, you can see that there is nothing but peace and harmony unopposed here. So we don't have to fill in the space with words, for example. Irony. I wonder sometimes, am I going to keep doing these messages? And I never know, but it seemed today that I should, so I did. And Spirit has a use for words, so here are words. But we don't have to fill in those gaps. And I've been noticing more in conversations when I'm looking to Spirit to give me my words when I'm in a conversation. I don't need to say so many. I can be quiet. I might not be, but I can be. And it's nice to see that option. We don't have to fill in these spaces with our positive and negative thoughts. We can just see the shared eternal reality. And that doesn't come from an analysis of time and space, any seemingly separate aspect of time and space. Will time and space, as we get our heads out of our asses, or as we get our heads screwed on straight, will time and space seem to reflect very directly to us peace and harmony unopposed? Definitely. But we're still getting our heads out of our asses, so we don't have to worry about that. It's not like trying to make an ideal appear in front of your face. It's about dropping the ideals and just getting into the habit of looking beyond the surface and acknowledging that any surface I encounter, if it seems to be fearful or tense or it elicits any reaction from me, I projected it. It's made out of thought. Thought is an experience I give myself, and having being an ego thought addict, I make fear surfaces to experience, but now I'm learning how to not make fear surfaces to experience. I'm learning how to look at the peace and harmony unopposed behind all the surfaces and to rest in that with you, with what you truly are forever. And then the surfaces take care of themselves. I don't have to tell them specifically how to look or what to do. I just tune into what Spirit would guide me to think, and therefore say and do, because thinking causes the perception of both my saying and my doing, and your saying and your doing, and everyone else's appearance and saying and doing. The thoughts I believe cause all that. So I realize I want all of them to come from Spirit and none of them to come from ego. And I still seem to hear from ego plenty during the day. But our ability to respond appropriately when we do hear from ego is everything. And thank goodness we're all learning and unlearning together. Okay, I think that is it. So wishing you well and happy healing.